Namo Namaha. Sarvebhyah Namo Namaha. Respected chairperson of this particular event and also Honorable Vice Chancellor of Kavikulaguru Kalidas Vidyapith, Professor Madhusudana Pennaji and Dr. Dinkar Marathe, Director of Ratnagiri KKSU Center, and Coordinator Ashish Athavle and other respected professors. My humble pranam to all, and really I am thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share few insights from my research experience. As it was told by Dr. Dinkar Marathe sir, that I want to start something related to research, some lecture series, and it will be good to have the first lecture of you. So I was very delighted, and I'm here to share few insights with you. First of all, I will share my presentation with you. So the topic which is chosen for this lecture is avenues of research in Sanskrit. यानी संस्कृत शोध के विभिन्न मार्ग. Now, mostly as a PG student or the PhD student, we are aware of the different paths of research, of Sanskrit studies. But now I will focus here some new avenues, we will say, or some new directions which will be important from today's perspective. And that too from my own research experience. So definitely it is not limited to this. We can add many. So first of all, I will spend some time on what is research, how to go about. Because when we talk about avenues, we should know what is the way, what is the method of going. So avenues of research in Sanskrit. So first of all, we should understand what is research. As the word is there, research, searching again. Samshodhanam is a Sanskrit word we can take. Means what? We have to search again. Means something is available to us. Some literature is available to us. Even already some research is done. Then what we have to do? We have to search something new. We have to find out some gap which is there in the already available knowledge treasure. And we have to redefine, reintroduce, or reshape certain things. Because as a student of Sanskrit, sometimes we may wonder that what new we will search. Already there we have a good tradition of rich tradition of treatises. बहुत सारे हमारे संस्कृत ग्रंथ तो है, तो हम नया शोध क्या करने वाले हैं? Therefore, first we have to understand that research is related to exploring something new with a certain methodology. Therefore, always we have to understand what is the research methodology. संशोधन पद्धति क्या है, ये हमें जानना चाहिए. Without research methodology, it is not possible to call something as research. Because any writing which is very much impressive, attractive, influential may not be called as research. कभी कभी हम बहुत ही अच्छा लेख जो है वो पढ़ते हैं, वर्तमान पत्र में हो या पुस्तक में हो या फिर अंतर्जाल में हो सकता है, बहुत ही हमें प्रभावित कर देता है. लेकिन वह संशोधन लेख ही है कि नहीं, वह निश्चित करना यह हमारी जिम्मेदारी है. It is our responsibility to first of all decide whether it is research work or not, because there can be different types of writings, and research writing is definitely different because it is done with proper methodology. So what methodology we are adopting? We have to definitely adopt a scientific way of research. So research is defined in many ways. It is basically careful investigation and inquiry to search new facts. It is systematic investigation to solve the problem, to find that research gap. So always while starting with research, we are told to find out research problem, that what is a research problem. So just, to do a research on Kalidas's work cannot be a research topic. कालिदास का साहित्य यह संशोधन का विषय नहीं हो सकता. उस साहित्य में आप क्या करना चाहते हो, उसका संकलन तो आप करोगे ही. डेटा कलेक्शन विल बी देयर, बट what will be the next step? So we have to follow a certain methodology, that is scientific way of research, which includes data collection and data analysis. Many a times we just forget the data analysis. We reach towards the data collection. बहुत सारे अभ्यासक्रमों में हम बहुत सारे प्रकल्प जब करते हैं तब हम संकलन करते हैं. We collect the information which is there in number of books, but how to process that information, that we are not aware of. Therefore research methodology is necessary, because there is a particular way to analyze that information which is called as data analysis. Again, data analysis should be done with a particular research perspective. संशोधन की जो दृष्टि है वह भी निश्चित होनी चाहिए. We have to decide from which research perspective we are going to analyze the data. If we are following these basic steps, data collection, data analysis, then only we can reach certain conclusions. Because conclusion is the very important part of the research. निष्कर्ष, संशोधन का जो निष्कर्ष है वह बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है. So we have to first presume that conclusion also. What will be our probable conclusion in the form of hypothesis? We can't just start with the research without deciding any research aims or objectives. तो संशोधन का कुछ तो ध्येय उद्दिष्ट होना ही चाहिए. Even after doing that, how the research is presented, that is also important. If we are not able to produce or explain that particular research with proper methodology, then it may not fit in the norm of research. Therefore, citation methods are important. We have to cite the references. So these are many, different concepts which we need to understand while entering into the research. Like different citation methods are there: MLA, APA, Oxford method of citation, Chicago, and we have to follow certain method which is decided by that particular institution. Or when we are publishing a paper in the journal, then we have to follow the method of that particular journal, and therefore we need to be aware with the citation methods to avoid plagiarism. वांग्मय चौर्य जो होता है वो हमें नहीं करना है. वह टालने के लिए हमें साइटेशन मेथड जो है उसके बारे में जानकारी लेने की बहुत ही आवश्यकता है. So when we talk about scientific way of research, what is that? See, generally these are the basic steps of scientific method of research. That you observe particular fact. This is generally in the science, but we can apply this in literature. Just whatever I have taken the example, suppose you are studying the literature of Kalidas. You just observe certain things and there is curiosity in your mind. Oh, Kalidas is making frequent references to suppose philosophy. So what kind of references he is mentioning? Then there is jignasa. And then you come to research problem, whether particular school of philosophy is mentioned frequently. So can we say that Kalidas was belonging to certain philosophical school or something? That you have to decide, and then you can reach to hypothesis that, oh, Kalidas was belonging to so and so school. But that hypothesis should be based on enough evidences. Otherwise, the further study may be futile. Then you have to decide the design of research, how your research will be divided into different sections. Then starts the process of data collection, the analysis with different perspectives. If you have adopted the philosophical approach, then philosophical, sociological, then sociological, etc. Then your hypothesis is tested with that, whether it is proved true. And then you propose, then you propound certain conclusions based on data collection, data analysis, and the entire process. And if you are going for applied research, then of course those conclusions can be applied to the realm or the area which you have taken. So this is in general, we can say, the method of going about in research, scientific method of research. So if we are coming only till data collection, it cannot be termed as research at all. We have to follow all these steps. Now, application is definitely not compulsory, because if it is a pure research, then it may not have, application as such. But definitely it is a contribution to the realm of knowledge. It may be contribution in the form of certain new theory, reshaping certain new theory or new thought. But if your research was application oriented, then definitely you have to prove the application. But we don't have to do the exercise of finding out application from any research. Far-fetched attempt should not be done. कभी कभी यह होता है कि हर एक संशोधन में हम उपयोजन दिखाने लगते हैं, लेकिन अगर वह संशोधन प्रक्रिया से हम अवगत नहीं हैं, तो वह जो उपयोजन है वह एक अभ्यास पद्धति से युक्त नहीं होगा. It will not be based on a proper research. It will be just superficial. So we don't have to make that deliberate attempt of showing application everywhere, because many researches actually in Sanskrit will be pure research, definitely. And it is not again that application kind of research is superior and pure research is inferior. No. Everything which is done with proper methodology and exploring something new is worth calling a research. So first of all, we should aware of this Shastriya Paddhati of doing a research. As I said, we should move from data collection to data analysis. Sahitya Vishleshanam is very important. And while doing this, we should adopt a particular approach of study, because many a times we fix the topic, since it is for PhD students and many new students also have joined. I'm elaborating on this, that we fix a topic, but we are not aware which approach I am adopting, whether it is literary approach. यदि हम कालिदास के साहित्य का साहित्यिक दृष्टिकोण से विश्लेषण करने वाले हैं, या फिर समाज शास्त्रीय दृष्टिकोण से उसका विश्लेषण करने वाले हैं, तत्वज्ञानीय दृष्टिकोण से उसका विश्लेषण होने वाला है, या फिर कुछ अलग शास्त्र के संदर्भ कालिदास के साहित्य में है या नहीं, यह हम जानने वाले हैं. So that perspective is very, very important. Without perspective, it will be just collection of the data in any manner. It will not give a proper direction. संशोधन को दिशा ही नहीं मिल सकती. So without analysis, there cannot be conclusion, solid conclusions or concluding remarks cannot be put. So Sahitya Vishleshana, data analysis, is very important part of the research. But most of the time it happens that students devote major time in data collection, and they means while actually planning the timeline, I will say, planning the timeline of the research, maybe for PhD or any other research project, most of the time is definitely devoted for data collection, and that is necessary to collect the data from the Sanskrit treatises, journals, encyclopedias, etc. Then that is returned, that is reproduced. But what about data analysis? यदि उसका योग्य विश्लेषण ही नहीं होता है तो वो एक संकलन मात्र रहेगा. So what will happen is that research will not have that value. It will be just a matter of compilation, and such research may not get that much recognition, though it is produced for the particular degree or any publication, because there will be nothing new in that. So this step is very important. Now we come to the main crux of this particular lecture with this background, because this background was very much necessary even to find out what area we have to choose for the research. संशोधन के लिए कौन सा क्षेत्र जो है उसका चयन हमें करना है, यह निश्चित करने के लिए भी संशोधन पद्धति जो है वो जानना आवश्यक ही है. Because without knowing research methodology, one may, many of times students say this, oh, this topic seems very easy, or the books of this particular topic are available to me. I have already this book, so I will do research on this. So research topic is not decided on the basis of this. Okay. Therefore, the knowledge of research methodology is first of all necessary to decide the area and the research topic. You have to find out the research problem, what new you will find out. Now, these fields are actually somewhat traditional fields. Some of these are, some are new fields of research in Sanskrit. Some are being, traversed right now, but they are not very much exposed to the students of Sanskrit. So we will take some of these and with certain examples to understand these areas. So when we are choosing a particular field of research, what we have to understand is, yes, we have to explore something new. We have to add to the existing system of knowledge. So many a times we find that many scholars have already worked on that. Okay. So when many scholars have already worked on that, then after that we need to add what I am going to add. Okay, what I am going to add. So that is the key of innovation, and that will be the unique contribution to the knowledge. Therefore, what happens is, generally the research students are suggested to take something new for research. So I will now focus on these three things mainly in my lecture, that is exploratory research, to finding out something new, to explore some new area, or find out some new dimension of the currently existing area. Sometimes topic is really taken by many, but one may come up with certain new idea, certain new contribution, that also can be called as exploratory research. Then application based research, I will talk on some areas, and then new approaches of analysis like interdisciplinary or cross cultural analysis. So we will focus on this because we are definitely aware about the pure research, descriptive research. So I will not focus much on that. Now, when we talk about exploratory research, it is conducted for a problem that has not been clearly defined or identified yet. You are identifying this problem for the very first time. Particular theory which may not be available in the literature, in the literature which you have reviewed. Suppose particular theory of Dharma Shastra which you are investigating, and it is not the way you want to put is portrayed by earlier researchers, then you have ample scope to do that. Similarly, exploring new branch or area of study. For example, Tantra Yukti. Now, Tantra Yukti is a vast area of research. It is basically a research methodology. This is again unexplored area. Because when we talk about research methodology, what we do is we study many books of research methodology and try to apply it to Sanskrit language. But is there any research methodology which is available in Sanskrit text itself? This is also the new area to be explored. Of course, some people are working in this direction. Some scholars are already working on this. So the example is Tantra Yukti. However, ancient treatises were written. Their method of writing that treatise, how was that? And their method of argumentation was also a certain methodology. Like, for example, the way Sayanacharya has written the commentary on Vedic treatises, or how Shankaracharya write the commentary on Brahma Sutras. There is a particular style to explain the words from the sutras, then to throw a light on the new meaning, then put the arguments which are there current in the realm of knowledge, and then refute that and produce the conclusion, propound the conclusion. The same thing we have to do in dissertation or thesis. So what was the research methodology of the ancient writers? That is also the realm or the new branch actually of study. So similarly, like Shankaracharya, there were other commentators as well. Like, for example, there is a Vyasa Bhashya on Yoga Sutra. How he explains the particular meaning of the words, what approach is there, whether it is with the social content, whether it is with the grammatical approach, or what else. So exploring the new branch or area of study is also very important here. So exploratory research can be done also to explore the new treatise altogether, which is not known to the researchers yet. Or maybe it is known, but not much analysis is done. जो ग्रंथ उपलब्ध ही नहीं है, उसका प्रकाशन, यह भी एक संशोधन हो सकता है, या फिर तो उपलब्ध है लेकिन उस विषय पर इतनी चर्चा नहीं हुई है संशोधन क्षेत्र में, तो उस पर भी काम हो सकता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, वी कैन टेक हियर द फील्ड ऑफ रामायण स्टडीज. In Ramayana studies, as we know, there have been many researches done on the Valmiki Ramayana. But There are, it is, you know that there are more than 300 Ramayanas. 300 से भी अधिक रामायण है. There are many Sanskrit Ramayanas like Adbhut Ramayana, Adhyatma Ramayana, Ananda Ramayana, Rushundi Ramayana. Yoga Vasishtha is also there. Then there are many regional Ramayanas. And all of them are actually following the same structure of Valmiki Ramayana. Yet, they are giving some new meaning to the Ramayana. So some Ramayana is focusing on different character like Sita, sometime on Hanuman, sometime even on other minor characters are more focused, we may find out. Some new meaning is also actually conveyed to the people. Like for example, we can say Adbhuta Ramayana is more focused on Shakta perspective. Adhyatma Ramayana is more focused on the philosophy of Advaita, Bhakti, etc. And they were written in different periods of time. So this is how we can connect the Valmiki Ramayana, which is there in Sanskrit, with the regional literature also. And there are many Ramayanas which are still unexplored, which may be, you know, regional in nature. प्रादेशिक बहुत सारे रामायण हैं या फिर रामायण परंपराएं. There is dance culture or, you know, the drama. These are in various arts also we can find out the Ramayana tradition, which is still consistent even in Southeast Asian countries. So Southeast Asian countries have different versions of Ramayana. So that also need to be somewhere explored. And that can be a very totally a new area and new topic or new treatise can be explored with this. Modern Sanskrit literature is another way actually to explore something new. Exploring some new forms which are written by, which are composed by contemporary poets. Like we, in classical Sanskrit literature, we don't get travelogues or short stories or autobiographies. But there are some new genres which are getting created in modern Sanskrit literature. So we need to explore those, because it not only explores that new literature which is written, but at the same time it also proves that Sanskrit is the flowing language even in today's world. Even new compositions are being done even today. Translated works also have, you know, some relevance here. बहुत सारा साहित्य ऐसे होता है जो अनुदित साहित्य होता है, which is translated from other languages to Sanskrit. So here we can analyze that particular composition from the translation point of view of norms of translation, how the translation is done, whether it is giving justice to the original or it is somewhat deviated or distorted. So on the basis of principles of translation, there are certain translation theories. On that basis, we can analyze those translated works. So this is also a new area. So exploratory research will give you the way to explore something new in totality. Like some field we can see as a case study, the manuscriptology and inscriptions. We are now aware of the field manuscriptology, Hastalikhita Shastra. Time. So exploring some new manuscript, new some new treatise will be definitely, you know, counted as a research. And there are many works which are there, you know, very important in this manuscript studies, like deciphering the manuscript, transliteration, decoding, what is the content, what is it about, is it something totally new treatise which is not available in the realm of knowledge today, or the critical study of the manuscript. See, when it is a PhD topic, definitely we have to consider the timeline of the study. And considering that, we may devote our time to maybe, to study a particular manuscript. लेकिन यह जो अध्ययन है वह उस तक सीमित नहीं हो सकता है, because when we study a manuscript, we have to find out all the versions which are available in the libraries, other libraries. Are there any similar versions of the manuscript? And after doing the comparative study of all those manuscripts, we can reconstruct the text. Then we can come to the critical edition of the text, etc. But as a PhD study, definitely it can be the beginning of that. And then you can extend your study to explore the similar manuscripts and go on to critically edit the text. So this is very much needed in today's time, because as we know, many manuscripts are lying without any attention and without any study as such. And it can contribute to the knowledge field in a very unique manner. For example, like the Professor Vasanta Bhatt has done the reconstruction of Abhijnana Shakuntalam. So the existing part of the Abhijnana Shakuntalam, which he studied, and then he explored some manuscripts from different regions, and he reconstructed the text of Abhijnana Shakuntalam. It is published as well. I think we can study that as a model, that how certain text can be reconstructed. So we can have the understanding of the higher criticism and the lower criticism which is there in the manuscript studies, and we can make use of this. We can definitely work in this field. Those who have not decided the topic may choose this area to explore more. And nowadays we can see that many catalogs of the manuscripts are available online, so that also may be used. Otherwise you have to visit different libraries, find out the catalogs, and then find the manuscripts. So now it can be definitely somewhat definitely it can provide some entry because of this availability of the catalog, some catalogs of course, in the online mode. And this can definitely fill the gap of the research which is there. अलग अलग काल में लिखे गए जो हस्तलिखित हो सकते हैं, तो तभी जो एक समाज की रचना थी या फिर ऐतिहासिक अगर कुछ घटना घटी है, तो उसका भी एक ग्रथन जो है वो ये हस्तलिखित में हो सकता है, और वह प्रकाशित हम कर सकते हैं. Then again the use of inscriptional sources is also important. May not be your study dedicated to this, but in your study you can use these sources, inscription sources. Many inscriptions are written in Sanskrit, and when these are inscriptions, they are important from the historical and sociological perspective. ऐतिहासिक घटनाओं के साक्षीदार होते हैं. तो अगर हम इस अभिलेखों का अभ्यास करें तो भी एक महत्वपूर्ण सिद्धांत जो है वो प्रस्थापित हम कर सकते हैं. So we can definitely limit the area to certain inscriptions or a certain geographical place and undertake this study, but definitely it will require certain kind of field work, and that methodology need to be adopted in this particular field. Manuscriptology and inscriptions is the study is very important from the point of view to explore something new in as far as research regarding Sanskrit is concerned. Then ancient Indian knowledge systems. Again, it is very upcoming area, we will say, in the field of Sanskrit, because we have got rich treasure of scientific text. We have text on the various arts like dance, music, Sangeeta Ratnakara, Abhinay Darpana. In Natya Shastra, we definitely have the sources of all those Indian arts, but there are independent treatises which were composed based on this, and they remain unexplored most of the times because they need some interdisciplinary study as well. If someone who has already learned dance or music, then there is a wide scope to explore such text. Then there are texts on architecture also, then culinary science like Nalapaka Darpana, because it again remains unexplored, culinary science. आहार शास्त्र या फिर पाककृतियां जो है उसका भी एक शास्त्र था, ये हमें नलपाक दर्पण से पता चलता है। क्या ऐसे और भी कुछ ग्रंथ है, वह भी, इसका भी शोध लिया जा सकता है और उस पर भी काम हो सकता है। देन देयर आर एस्ट्रोनॉमिकल टेक्स्ट, समटाइम्स यू नो द एंशिएंट इंडियन मैथमेटिक्स इज आल्सो इन्वॉल्वड इन दैट। देन मेटेरियोलॉजी, वातावरण जो है, हवामान जो है, उसका भी एक शास्त्र होता हुआ हमें दिखाई देता है। वी गेट सम stray references, but are there some dedicated texts that we can definitely explore? Then Ayurveda, Kama Shastra, all these are actually the genres. ये बहुत सारी विधाएं हैं, इनमें बहुत सारे स्वतंत्र ग्रंथ जो है वो हो सकते हैं। So we need to explore those ancient Indian knowledge systems, those independent treatises which are really unknown to the realm of knowledge, or even if unknown, they are not much studied, and so the critical study of these treatises will contribute to the realm of knowledge. So ancient Indian knowledge systems is important area, and there can be the list can be more, you know, extended with the addition of certain sciences here. But here we have to note one thing when we are exploring such treatises, what perspective we are adopting to explore this text. Whether we are having the basic knowledge of these sciences, like for example, if you are exploring the mathematical text, and are you trained in this particular science? Or if you are exploring some treatise on chemistry, then are you trained in chemistry? Otherwise, it will be just a compilation. Or if you're concluding something, then your conclusion will be superficial and it will be open to criticism. Often we find that, you know, this area, when it is explored by the people of Sanskrit, the scholars of Sanskrit, it is often criticized because some tall claims are made, and that too, another thing is without following the research methodology. If proper research methodology is not followed, then you know, exploring the scientific text will be in totally, you know, when we can definitely throw a light in on the contents. What are the contents of this particular कंपोजिशन, इस ग्रंथ में क्या क्या लिखा है, क्या इसका विषय है, यह हम प्रकाशित कर सकते हैं। लेकिन अगर हम कुछ ऐसा निष्कर्ष दे रहे हैं कि suppose this particular technology or this particular, you know, thing was already existing in so and so period, then definitely it should be substantiated with proper evidences. Because as we have seen, we are following the scientific methodology of the research. So without evidences, we cannot prove anything. We cannot prove anything. Like for example, some students come with, you know, such topics like, for example, the effect of the stotras, suppose, okay, on the people. When you recite some stotras, then what is the effect on the people? Now this particular research needs some experimentation, and there will be certain questions. How you are going to measure that effect? How you are going to observe that effect? How many people will be, analyzed in this way? So that proper methodology, if it is not available, that study will not be called as research. Okay, so while doing the research in this particular area, we need to define the proper methodology, whether we are doing a review kind of research, that we are just, exploring the text and leaving it to some other experts to work more on that, then that is okay, because we have done basic work. Then some other researchers may come and explore these sciences more if they are from that particular discipline. So mostly, this area should be explored in interdisciplinary manner. If those people who are from that discipline are exploring this text, then it is wonderful. Otherwise, it can be a combined research. If one from Sanskrit and another from another discipline, if comes together, then this research can go smoothly. Then another area, which is actually traditional area of research, but still needs to be revived, commentary literature. Because whenever we take some topics for the research, or students choose the topic for their PhD or other dissertations, we focus mainly on, those treatises which are already there, but the commentary literature remains ignored. So we have the good rich tradition of the सूत्र treatises. सूत्र ग्रंथ की हमारी जो परंपरा है वो बहुत ही वैभवशाली है, और उसके ऊपर बहुत सारे भाष्य लिखे गए हैं. Sometimes we find 51, 52 to 60 commentaries on particular Sanskrit treatise, and they are of different nature. Like some commentary just explain those words, some will give the more and more content. So they are called as bhashya, tika, vyakhya, and referred by many different names. So it is worth analyzing the style of those commentaries. Even dating of the commentator is very important in this case. Then sometimes commentator also records some socio-cultural understanding of that particular period. So we can get glimpses of those socio-cultural understanding of that particular period. Some historical phenomena may be recorded in that commentary. Language peculiarities is going to be the main thing. For example, suppose Rigveda, or all entire Vedic literature we always read with Sayana Bhashya. But are there any other commentaries? So there were some other commentaries by Skanda Swamin, Udgita, Venkata Madhava, Mudgala, etc. So we can explore those commentaries, because our understanding of Vedic literature is mainly constructed by the commentary of Sayanacharya, because it is traditionally it is like that. But if we study these commentaries, it may give some new insight, some new interpretation may come up about the Vedic deities, rituals, and the Vedic suktas. So that needs to be explored. I remember one example that one student had come with certain examples from Vakrana. Okay, and it was like Karaka Prakarana and Bhattoji Dikshit's Vritti on it. So she had analyzed those Karakas examples which Bhattoji Dikshit has given. So Bhattoji Dikshit had, so definitely it involved a statistical study also, that how many sutras are there in Karaka Prakarana, how many examples are produced by Bhattoji Dikshit, what are these examples. So that data collection, this is still data collection, but while doing data analysis, what she observed is many examples were related to Hari, okay, the god Vishnu, and the frequent uses of the word Hari. Examples were pertaining to the Hari and also the Lakshmi. So definitely she analyzed that. Suppose in Karaka Prakarana there are so many sutras, but out of those sutras, For these many sutras, Bhattoji Dikshit is giving the examples which are related to Hari and Lakshmi. So then she could conclude that what is the background of Bhattoji Dikshit? Whether he was having any Vaishnava affiliation or something. And then she could, come to the probable conclusion that he might be affiliated to some Vaishnava cult. Like, for example, maybe Dvaita cult of Madhvacharya also reveres the Hari and Lakshmi, or maybe Vishishtadvaita also. Definitely, it is not the precise conclusion and definite conclusion, because then researcher has to study all the examples. But this is definitely a what we can say, a beginning into that particular area of research, we can say. So though it is a text of Vyakarana as such, we can get certain those socio-cultural glimpses. Therefore, study of commentary literature is very important, even though there are many known commentaries we are aware of. Like, for example, Mallinatha's commentary on Kalidas's literature. But are there some other commentators which are not much studied? Or even on Upanishads. The Shankara Bhashya is very popular. On all Dasha Upanishad, we will get the commentary of Shankaracharya. But are there any other commentaries? So on Ishavasya Upanishad, we can see nearly 51 to 52 commentaries. So similarly on other Upanishads, or even on the Puranas, like, for example, Vishnu Purana definitely is commented by Sridhara Swami, but it is also there is also a commentary available which is called as Vishnu Chittiyam. So it can be studied because it is written from the Vishishtadvaita perspective. So commentary literature is really a very important area to explore certain new facts which we should explore. Then I come to application-based research. Of course, here many innumerable possibilities are there. बहुत सारी विधाएं हो सकती है उपयोजनात्मक संशोधन की. It can be providing some solution to the existing problem. For example, nowadays there is increasing stress. So can it be cured, or can it be cope up with some solution which are already available in the ancient text? So maybe, for example, Yoga Shastra, or maybe some arts. But we have to come with the precise and specific topic, of course. But this can be application kind of research. But here, they again, every area has a particular methodology which we need to follow. When we come to application-based research, we have to first carefully investigate what is there in the text, what is there in the traditional knowledge. We can't, get some dilute information based on translation, secondary sources, and give our opinion about application. Most of the time it happens that we find out, we come across such researches done. Actually, not actual researches also we can see, but some writings we will see that, oh, such knowledge is applicable in this way, etc. But if we see carefully the primary source, then we may not get such information in the primary source at all. So it may not fit into the norms of research at all. So it is of course our prime duty to investigate, to analyze a text. It's a basic necessity. Then we want to apply that. So we have to identify those pointers where which part is available in modern day, or whatever the area of realm which is chosen for application. And then we have to reinterpret that. Okay, without reinterpretation, it will not be possible. For example, always, this is very known area, but still, for bringing the social harmony, or for bringing the peace, how Upanishads are useful. So definitely Upanishads are useful, but while understanding the relevance of Upanishads in creating social harmony, first I have to identify those mantras which will be useful. And then I have to reinterpret in today's social context that how, for example, Ishavasyam idam sarvam, how it can be applicable in today's context, what problems it can solve. In this way, we have to interpret. We will see certain areas of this as well, of application-oriented research. Like one area which is very important in this application-oriented research is Sanskrit pedagogy, which is a new trend, I will say, how to teach Sanskrit at different levels. We are following definitely certain methods, classroom methods and all, this explaining the what text, explaining the meaning, translations, reading the commentaries. But what can be the new ways to teach Sanskrit text? Nowadays, because of this sudden revolution, digital tools are developing. So what can be the digital tools for teaching Sanskrit? What can be the methodology for teaching and learning process of Shastras? The best example which I have given here is of Professor Mahapadhyay Pushpa Dikshit. She has devised a novel method of learning Vyakarana, which is called as Paushpi Prakriya. So this is her new method of teaching Paninian grammar. Because when we learn grammar from the from the Siddhanta Kaumudi, Samasa, Sandhi, etc., the order is disturbed. So she has given a thought that how one can study from this particular perspective. So why Ashtadhyayi was written in a particular way, why sutras are in particular order, and then she devised a method which is called as Paushpi Prakriya. So this is definitely an innovation in the Sanskrit pedagogy. Similarly, can we devise certain techniques? Of course, then they should be noted down in proper method and given a proper shape. Then only they will be called as a method. Otherwise, and of course, experimentation will be necessary in this case. That what is the effect? What is the influence on the participants? I will give you one more example, which is from my research experience. That when that film and philosophy, which was mentioned while giving my introduction, which I had experimented with 3 films, like The Matrix, there was Inception, and one more, to explain the Vedanta. Now, while explaining this, what we did is to show the Matrix, the film, to the participants, and then to analyze the concept like Adhyasa and Maya. So the effect was that though Maya and Adhyasa were understood by those students in classroom teaching, always they used to remain in ambiguity that how it is possible that Jagat is mithya, how this world is illusory. But when they saw this film Matrix, the very concept of Maya or Adhyasa was exemplified through some certain characters and through certain storyline. So those who had understood these concepts, they re-understood it with proper clarity. And those who were totally new to this concept, they also gained definitely certain knowledge about Shankaracharya's Advaita theory. Similar experiment was done about Inception. That film was shown, and then we tried to analyze Gaudapadacharya's Mandukya Upanishad Bhashya, particularly his theory of dream. Then we analyzed the movie Unbreakable, which was, on that basis, we tried to analyze the theory of dualism in Indian philosophy and Western philosophy. So with this, certain model actually could be developed that, yes, if these films are shown to the students, it will be effective understanding of our Shastras. The complexity will be removed and more clarity, can be gained in understanding. So can we develop such methods of understanding or teaching and learning the shastras. So the school of this area of Sanskrit pedagogy is very important. Sanskrit adhyayana shastra, shiksha shastra, what may be called as, is really important. Then a very upcoming field, Sanskrit computational linguistics, we all are aware, but very few institutions are participating in this. As we know, the Samsadhani is available, Sanskrit computational toolkit, which is developed by University of Hyderabad. Then another which is there, and we can see some of its features, which what they have devised is Sandhi joiner, splitter, sentence analyzer, word generator, Ashtadhyayi simulator, even some indexes, even the center of that is JNU, the Jawaharlal Nehru University of New Delhi, also has a center on computational linguistics, and they also have developed many devices. Few of them are cited on the slide, like for example multilingual Amarkosha, Karak analyzer, Anukramani. So digital humanities or digital digitization of this Sanskrit text is definitely upcoming field. And if we have the sound knowledge of Paninian grammar and the Nyaya or the Nyaya, Mimamsa, so we can make use of these shastras and technology to develop such kind of tools, such kind of devices. And this we should come definitely with this. Those who have not yet decided the topics but have expertise in this particular fields can get guidance from those scholars. And
hello, Mandakini, please mute.
Okay, so such studies are going on in different IITs like IIT Mumbai, the JNU Center of Computational Linguistics, then IIT Hyderabad, etc. So the new students, the new scholars should definitely join such researches, and not only that, they should start such studies in their own centers wherever they are studying. So it will give strength to this particular field, and Sanskrit will have more application. Okay, many workshops are conducted in this area, so new students definitely can join this. So, and the terminology of Nyaya, terminology of Mimamsa is definitely useful in this particular area while studying. Then application of ancient shastras. Now we have to explore many ways, because this is not the these are not definitely the limitation. These are not only the fields. बहुत सारी इसकी विधाएं हो सकती है, जैसे कि अर्थशास्त्र, कौटिल्य अर्थशास्त्र, now becoming very popular text. But along with Arthashastra, like Kautilya Arthashastra, there are many Niti Shastra texts like Kamandakiya Niti Sara, Shukra Niti Sara, Niti Vakyamruta, which are not much studied. Because when Arthashastra is there, the focus is on Kautilya's Arthashastra, and other texts, like remain out of focus. So there is ample scope to comparative study and how those concepts, and most of these writers are post-Kautilya authors. So how there was a change, what these Niti Shastra writers has changed while reproducing the text. For example, Kamandakiya Niti Sara, he almost reproduces Kautilya Arthashastra, but not focusing on all these topics. So what made him to focus only on limited topics? Shukra Niti Sara, for example. So, and there is now constant demand about this, like how these principles can be applied today. Like for example, in army. Well, I was invited once by the Rashtriya Raksha University of Gujarat. They wanted to understand the Shukra Niti from the war strategy point of view. And so here we need to apply those texts, because Shukra Niti may have mention of many topics, Arthashastra may have mention of many topics, but what topics may be useful for the current scenario and how they can be applied. So strategic thinking is very useful because the geopolitical conditions and there is change, and the techniques of war also have changed. But that strategic thinking, diplomacy definitely can be applied in today's world. So the such kind of study can be undertaken. Then another very important text, Panchatantra. We all know Panchatantra, but we fail to understand that Panchatantra is actually the exemplification of the Kautilya Arthashastra. All those, techniques, Mitra Bheda, Mitra Samprapti, etc., are based on this theory. Arthashastra produces theory, but Panchatantra has its exemplification through animal characters, through fable. So even Panchatantra is therefore now studied from the management perspective, how management techniques can be understood. व्यवस्थापकीय कौशल्य जो है वो पंचतंत्र से कैसे प्राप्त कर सकते हैं. So Panchatantra and Hitopadesh definitely can be studied from this perspective. And not only that, are there any other texts we need to explore which can be helpful to contribute to this area of strategic thinking, management, or even the security, internal security of the country, etc. Similarly, like I said, application of ancient shastras. So similarly, how Natya Shastra can be applied. Of course, it is important from the perspective of ancient Indian arts. But can it be studied from the perspective of psychology? Because we see many Vyabhichari bhavas are mentioned. So how Bharata Muni has mentioned 33 Vyabhichari bhavas without knowing the science called psychology. So Manasa Shastra is present from there itself, though it is a new branch of study according to Western norms. Even the aesthetics like rasa theory, etc., we study to understand the beauty of the drama. But can it be applied as art therapy? How rasa, etc., are used in the therapies of the psychological counseling. So that model we have to develop with proper study. First of all, with the text, original text is to be studied. Then the relevant matter is to be identified. The relevant area where it is applicable, that is also identified. And then rethinking and reinterpretation is needed. Then this application of ancient shastras to the current era is definitely possible. Then completely these two areas are there where the completely new things can be explored. But even the existing research can be explored with a new approach if we take the different research perspective altogether. Means, for example, see, Kalidas's literature is studied by all, but what if it is studied from totally different manner, that is, for example, grammatical perspective? Then it will be something new perspective which is not explored yet. Correct. So साहित्य का विश्लेषण जो है वो तो सामान्य है ही कालिदास के बारे में, या फिर अगर हम पंचमहाकाव्य लेते हैं, लेकिन क्या उनका और कुछ अलग विधा से, अलग दृष्टिकोण से अध्ययन हम कर सकते हैं क्या, यह हमें सोचना चाहिए. So reshaping certain theories is possible. So if it is possible that to decide the time periods of certain poets or certain authors based on particular evidences, then it will be reshaping certain theories. Or like I said previous, that Bhattoji Dikshit was having Vaishnava affiliation, or Kalidas is considered as Shaivite. So can we reshape these theories, or can we strengthen these theories with certain evidences? New concepts, can we recover or rediscover certain new concepts which are there in that particular literature, which are not present at all? So it will be definitely a contribution to the frame of knowledge. And it can not only that, this new perspective also can extend to the current literature, the regional literature, local customs, rituals, and beliefs. Now here I am giving the example, of course, because there can be such many approaches. Socio-historical approach, for example, the gods and different cults are studied from socio-historical approaches. We have the good case studies also, like for example, the study of Khandoba was done profusely by the known scholar Gunther Sontheimer, or Vitthalik Mahasamanvay, which is also translated in English by Anne Feldhaus, which is a study of R.C. Dhere. In fact, all his books are good specimen of this socio-historical approach. Then a recent book by David Haberman on Livingstone, which is study of Govardhana mountain of the Vrindavan. Now here, see, there is a base called Sanskrit text. For example, suppose here Puranas, we can say. Then there is a continuation of those tradition even today in the form of customs, ritual, beliefs, and we need to re-explore those. While doing that, multidisciplinary study is required because the text is to be studied. The supportive proofs should be found out from some inscriptions, some sthala mahatmyas which are not known. Okay, so in case of Vitthalik Mahasamanvay, R.C. Dhere mentions certain sthala mahatmyas which are still not published. So even in Livingstone's, David Haberman takes the anthropological approach in inquiring among the people about the understanding about this mountain and how the worship of stones actually evolved in the society and how it is continuing and getting reshaped in the Vaishnava pantheon. So we have to connect it to the regional culture also. Many a times our study remains isolated to that particular thing, but our study can be extended to understand the regional culture, local practices, local beliefs also. So that can be the novel approach of study, which is based on textual exegesis, which is called as Sahityika Vishleshanam. And then it goes to connect with the understanding of local customs, ritual beliefs. It has the field work also, the documentation of those oral narratives, interviews, etc. Many things are involved in such kind of study. The gender studies is another upcoming field which we have to again focus, because it is not much focused till yet. We have the gender theories in Western academia, but we have to reevaluate those theories, whether they are relevant to our Indian society or can we come up with some new theories. We have to evaluate the text on the basis of these theories, that how is the portrayal of women. Of course इस बारे में बहुत सा अध्ययन हो भी रहा है, लेकिन उतनी गहराई से नहीं होता है और इसीलिए उसको इतनी मान्यता भी नहीं मिलती है. खूपच वरवरचा अशा प्रकारचा हा अभ्यास होताना आपल्याला दिसून येतो. सो वी नीड टू become very serious about these gender studies. We have to first reevaluate and reshape certain theories. We have to critically analyze the theories related to feminism, etc. Portrayal of Sita, Draupadi, how it is done over the centuries in different texts, that we need to understand in this area. Then another important field avenue actually in the here is Sanskrit and other languages. We study Sanskrit, but we are not connecting, or we are not much paying much attention to Pali and Prakrit languages. So we have to find out some topic we can take which is connecting, or which is there in all these languages. Sanskrit, for example, Katha Sahitya, if we say, then Katha Sahitya is present in all these languages. Jataka Kathas are there in Sanskrit, there are many story literature.
गुलाबराव म्यूट कीजिए.
So, and also we can study Sanskrit and regional languages like Marathi, Hindi. So such languages also, the connection between Sanskrit and other languages need to be studied, not only from the language perspective, means grammatical perspective, etc., but also how the content gets, produced in each language. Sometimes the content is very common, and that can be taken for the language studies. So I will, I think, conclude here with one or two more examples. cross-cultural studies or interdisciplinary studies, what we say as. So in cross-cultural studies, which have more disciplines involved, or comparative study, a very important field again, but again not taken much seriously. Like religious studies is definitely an important field in the Western countries. We don't have religious studies as departments. We have a department specific to Sanskrit, but religious study is important area because it gives scope to study comparative religion as such, and so religious phenomena. For example, what are the associations about particular concept in various religions that can be explored. Now, while doing study of eschatology as a part of my PhD, when I was reading and searching about the how what are the ways, then I got that there is a funeral, there is a burial, and many common patterns were observed. So while doing such comparative study, we can adopt certain tools like structuralism, etc., which is again another theory of Western literary criticism, that can certain patterns we can observe in comparative philosophy. When I was studying Upanishadic understanding of rebirth, Upanishadon mein punarjanma sankalpana, and when I studied Greek concept of rebirth, propagated particularly by Pythagoras, which was completely new because Pythagoras is mainly known for his mathematics, but Pythagoras was philosopher, and he believed in rebirth theory, and he has explained. So there were many common patterns which I could get. But while doing such research, again, we have to be very careful because there should be some basis for comparison. Why you are comparing this? You should be very clear with what is the purpose of comparison, and what conclusion you are assuming to get, what you are proving ultimately. That is very important. So in comparative study, there are comparative literature, comparative philosophy, comparative religion, comparative mythology. Many fields can be explored in this way. So religious studies is definitely a very important area, and we can go for cross-cultural studies. If a particular concept which is present in different cultures, so we can observe the patterns. It can answer some very important question, that how human psychology is same across the cultures. Such answers can be definitely solved. Not as a PhD topic as such, but for different kind of researches, we have to again look to this area of creating word indexes, which is again the need of the era. We need word indexes of different treatises. Of course, we have some like Vedic concordance, index of Upanishadic words, but we need for Ramayana, Mahabharata. Of course, there are some, but for Puranas, for Arthashastra, some dictionaries specific to Shastras are needed. Like maybe for dictionary for Shastra of Mimamsa, dictionary of Vedanta is already there, but such dictionaries are definitely needed. There is a need of such research which will, or certain research project which will explain the technical terms of Shastras. So we need to also look towards the Kosha Vangmaya, and how it can be, of course, the researchers have to use while doing first of all in research, and then we have to think in other way after that, how we can create such type of literature. So this is also important. And at the last, I would like to show that you have to, for understanding the different areas and avenues of the research, I would like to draw your attention to the themes which are there in World Sanskrit Conference. If you see, all these themes are incorporated in World Sanskrit Conference. Like some topics are very usual topics which we always explore, or which are also the part of conferences. But here I have highlighted some areas. Those areas are definitely new one. Like for example, Tantra studies. The Agama literature is again vast. Vaishnava Agama, Shaiva Agamas. Then Tantra literature is there, which is not much explored. So there are studies needed regarding this. Another important field is ritual studies. Studies of rituals. Like for example, there in Brahmana text there are many rituals which are mentioned. What is the significance of those rituals? We need to understand that. Even in there are many vows which are mentioned, or rituals regarding certain uh, 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 certain sutra granthas also which are mentioned, like Shrauta Sutras, Guhya Sutras. They need to be explored. Then we also need to understand the scientific literature that we have already done. Sanskritam Pradesha Bhashascha also we have already done. Sanskrit pedagogy we have done, and gender and Sanskrit studies. So if you see, these themes, you will realize that there are many avenues of Sanskrit research. And sometimes we keep our attention to limited fields, but if you can get access to the abstract of earlier World Sanskrit conferences, I think you can get many such topics which are worth exploring further after that. And what is a work done by people or researchers, that also we can get access. So I think we should keep this in mind to understand the different areas. So these are the many avenues actually which are there in Sanskrit, still need to be explored. And while doing research, we have to keep in mind the ancient research models. It is not that research methodology is something new area. It is done by our acharyas very, from the early time. Like for example, Sayanacharya, while interpreting Vedic mantras, it is his own research. How he interprets, that methodology we should understand. Then we will be able to interpret our own data in those lines. Like Shankaracharya, whatever text we have read, maybe from the genre of grammar, it may be Vedanta, we have to observe their methodology. And this itself is a new area of exploring the research methodology of this Sanskrit treatises, like I was mentioning about Tantra Yukti. And of course, there are some research models from modern scholarship. In the beginning only, sir mentioned about P.V. Kane. So P.V. Kane's History of Dharma Shastra is definitely a good model of understanding the entire, Dharma Shastra text from the socio-religious approach. Similarly, we can read the R.D. Ranade for understanding his perspective of philosophy and mysticism. Or I would like to here mention the M.R. Yardi. If you have read his books about statistical study of Ramayana and Mahabharata, very important, because such studies are again scanty. We just say that how, Balakanda is interpolated, or Uttara Kanda is interpolated. Now, what is the meaning of that interpolation, and how he proves that? So that statistical study he has done, and we need to understand the statistical method, because it is not much, used by Sanskrit researchers while doing this study. We must read the introductions of Mahabharata, critical edition of Mahabharata and Ramayana. It gives that critical apparatus. It itself is, like the rules of, research for the manuscript studies. So such examples we should note down and we should read, because secondary sources are very important to understand their methodology and to come up with the new research further. So the key factors, I will say, in the research: the novelty of topic, first of all, then research methodology, we should first aware, then design, free from plagiarism. That is very important. We don't have to just take the matter from the sources, but we have to acknowledge that with correct method. And very significant point is our research should be unbiased. if we are doing the research with biased viewpoint from something, keeping in our mind that so and so text is propagating this theory, no, we should be open-minded to accept whatever we get through our data analysis. Therefore I said data collection, data analysis, and then conclusions. So we have to be very, very unbiased in our approach. We should be able to accept those conclusions in very free manner, and then innovation and contribution, because this only will prove that, oh, something is new is found out, something is innovated, and that will be your contribution to the realm of knowledge, without which it will be just compilation. So if these factors are involved, then that particular study can be called as research. So with this, I would like to conclude, and I would like to thank to the organizers for organizing this particular lecture. And I don't know if there is a time for question answers, so I leave it upon organizers.